Hello everyone and welcome back to more Knowing Wheel, where today we're here reviewing and recapping the French Grand Prix. Yes, Le Castellet, round 13?
12, I think.
12? I keep getting it muddled up. Yeah, it's round 12 of the Formula 1 season, isn't it? Last weekend, of course. As always, I'm joined by Jamie183. How we doing, mate?
I'm good. Yeah, I was caught off guard by you starting the intro at that point because we were mid-conversation, but
we were.
Apart from that,
we like to change it up. Good. You know, Jamie actually this weekend didn't even watch the Formula 1. He was out swimming, cycling, running.
Yes.
At Mallory Park.
I did a triathlon on Sunday and then listened to the race in the car on the way home. So I had the beautiful tones of Jack Nicholls and Jack Aitken, which is so much better than Crofty.
Jack Aitken?
Yeah, I don't know why it was on it, but it was quite good. So, yeah,
Fair enough.
it was way better than Crofty and DeResta, I got to be honest.
Yeah, Crofty and DeResta is not quite the vibe I want to get on board with, I'll be honest. Don't get me wrong, love Crofty, but DeResta, I mean, I could replace him, I reckon.
Give him Button or Rosberg or Brundle any day.
Yeah, and just like, I don't get the random interjects as well from Rosberg at home in Ibiza.
They might as well come to one of us.
So weird. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of just that, like, Rosberg, he left Formula 1 to be with his family, and now he's spent time with his family, so I want to still do Formula 1, but
join me on Zoom, home. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you just think the coordination for that must have been a nightmare as well.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah. Anyway, let's get into it, though. French Grand Prix Le Castellet. Before that, though, of course, make sure you check out in the links down in the description below. Of course, we got Bybit, the big one. We've got Imperium Experience as well, of course, a new sponsor that has jumped on recently. So if you want tickets, or if you want to try and win tickets, I should say, to the Italian Grand Prix, make sure you enter that. That will be linked down below. Of course, clips. Spotify, everything like that, you know, all that good stuff linked down there. Definitely recommend checking it out, of course, if you're watching this on the tube. But yeah, France though. Of course, we spoke last week about, you know, Le Castellet, whether it deserves to stay on the Formula 1 calendar. I predicted quite a good race. I think good was strong, but certainly interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't overall terrible. It's not one you're going to be like desperate to watch back in a few years' time, but it was certainly...
Well, Ferrari fans know.
Yeah, definitely not. But it was definitely okay. It wasn't absolute snooze fest. It wasn't a snooze fest, I should say. So yeah, not bad for French standards.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was a better Le Castellet French Grand Prix, it must be said. But, you know, if we want to stay in France, we've got to go back to Magny-Cours, I reckon. But, yeah, of course, we went into the weekend knowing that Carlos Sainz and Kevin Magnussen would both be having new engines this weekend. Of course, that made, you know, KMag a very feisty driver, Sainz in a very, very quick car. Certainly, you think that could be quite interesting, though. At least, with Sainz being at the back as well, it kind of pretty much guaranteed we had something to watch early on in the race, didn't it? As he tried to pick his way through the field. But of course, yeah, practice. Jamie kind of hyped up Mercedes last week, you know, saying it's a flat track, it should suit them. Wasn't quite the story though, was it? It was very much the same old Ferrari, Red Bull at the front, and then Mercedes a bit away back with everyone else sort of trying to follow.
Yeah, it was always more extreme, the gap between the top two and everyone else, I found. Like, especially FP3, there was like getting on for a second gap, or maybe more, between like fourth and the rest, which is quite concerning. Although France is a sort of track to highlight those gaps because it's basically a testing venue. So
yeah, exactly. It's designed to show the quick cars being quick.
Yeah.
You know, it's a real good all-rounder of a circuit. But yeah, so like you said, you know, Red Bull were looking really, really strong over the longer runs, and even on FP3 they were looking, well, Max Verstappen was looking rapid even on his short runs. Must be said though, and I'm sure we'll talk about it later on, Sergio Perez, just a nowhere this weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah,
really
completely.
Odd.
Especially in the race. Quali, he kind of got it together, was not that far off, but in the race he went to sleep for 53 laps or whatever. How many laps is France?
53, yeah, 53, you were spot on.
There we go.
Yeah, let's get into qualifying though. Zhou Guanyu, one of the first almost. I never saw a replay of this. Zhou Guanyu almost completely binned it on the exit of turn 6 there. A fantastic power slide. Funnily enough, though, only his second best save of the year. Yeah, from Zhou Guanyu.
No, nothing compared to his Monaco save, but it was enough to completely ruin any chance he had of improving on that lap. So unfortunately, didn't get out of Q1. Alfa Romeo have just gone backwards since the first race, and it's been very annoying.
Yeah, it's been weird, hasn't it?
Yeah, because Alfa have had some upgrades, and the team like Haas just haven't at all, which is very weird because Haas are still basically where they were, maybe a little bit further back, and Alfa Romeo have just dropped. So even Bottas can't get close to Q3s like he was at the start of the year, which is a shame. But Joe, yeah, out in Q1, but rumours of a new contract, so we take that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure we'll discuss that over the summer months as well, won't we? But yeah, like you said, I think Haas have absolutely, based on last year, have nailed the art of building a car and then really just working on how to make it quicker through setup rather than upgrades, haven't they? Because obviously last year, I think it kind of obviously got completely overlooked because they were, of course, at the back of the grid at the start of the year and then the back of the grid by the end of the year. But when you think how the gap never really went up to the cars in front.
No, it didn't. Yeah.
Part of that, of course, was due to Mick and Mazepin both getting more confident in the car. But it does make me wonder, had they sort of had the whole year's worth of experience at the end of the year, where if they suddenly then got teleported back to Bahrain, where Mick could have qualified? I mean, Mazepin would have still been last.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those odd things, isn't it, that makes you wonder,
the big controversy
how not bad
only
was
happened.
that car?
Only happened because Schumacher was racing Latifi, which wouldn't have happened in Bahrain. So
no, exactly.
Maybe Haas are just really good, and we just never been sleeping on it all year.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like I said, they've certainly mastered the art. Oh, I mean, they haven't got any budget because Mick keeps stacking the thing, but he's done better in recent weeks. But yeah, they've certainly learnt the art of learn what you've got rather than always trying to improve it. Because Alfa Romeo have certainly proven otherwise. It's safe to say this year.
Yeah, definitely. And the rest of Q1, or Joe was at the head of the train. I think Albon was second in the train. He then spun at what's the chicane called? Le Bose? No,
that's the double right hand. I don't think it's got a name, has it? It's just turn 9 and turn 10.
Yeah.
Or the Mistral straight chicane,
yeah, that chicane there. Albon spun on the exit of the first part of the chicane. And yeah, that obviously ruined everyone else's laps behind him, which ended up with him going through to Q2 in 15th. So fair play, Albon.
Rosberg style.
Well, Schumacher style from last year as well.
And Schumacher. Yeah, that's a very good point. I thought you meant Schumacher Monaco.
No,
but
that was
both Schumachers.
Unintentional. No, absolutely
was
wasn't.
It? Oh no, I've stopped.
Oh no, I've stopped when my car has no mechanical problems.
It was just how bad. Like even trying to make that look realistic.
Yeah. Rosberg at least did it cleverly. So
I mean, not really.
He took
like 3 chunks at the steering wheel. Yeah, for some reason.
Yeah, that ruined anyone's chances of getting through. Apart from Mick Schumacher, who still had a chance of getting through, and ruined it himself by cutting turn 3.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing. Obviously, we saw track limits being super enforced at Austria. It was still enforced at France, but there's less places. I think that the drivers were trying to track extend, so it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't so prevalent. But Schumacher still managed to get caught out and lap deleted in Q1, which sent him, I think, from like P6-ish was where his lap put him.
Yeah.
And then he was relegated to P19. So it wasn't great.
Not the Mick Schumacher vibe. No, it's safe to say.
No, Demon Time is had a bad start. After everyone saying on Twitter that, this is the new Mick Schumacher, he's back to P19.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, of course, he was joined by, like we said, Zhou Guanyu, obviously Latifi, as you'd expect. Gasly, he had a really rough qualifying session, didn't he? Just not really gelling with the circuit in the same way Tsunoda was able to, and then, of course, Lance Stroll as well there. Then, of course, we jumped into Q2. A little bit less dramatic, wasn't it? But what we kind of forgot about was Carlos Sainz and Kevin Magnussen, of course, both starting from the rear of the field no matter what happened, both just decided to go into Q3 for a laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, we know why Sainz did, but...
Yeah, but weirdly, Sainz, without slipstream, set a time in Q2 that was quick enough for pole, which is very strange. But yeah, he was on it. It's a bit of a shame he had the engine pens, because I think had he even started in the top 4 with the way the race played out, he probably would have won, because he was rapid. So... I mean, maybe not, given that it's Ferrari still. But, yeah, it's a shame for Sainz they had those penalties because he was really quick through Q2. And Magnussen, he said afterwards that they'd obviously planned to do the same thing as Ferrari with Mick. Like, Magnussen gets as far as Mick gets to give him slipstream all the time. But then Schumacher didn't go through Q1, obviously. So Magnussen was just like, screw it, we'll do a lap, why not? And they put him 6th. So, Haas are just really weird. I don't really get them.
I mean, I love them again. You know, I said this over the weekend. Actually, I was watching them. I was watching KMag in qualifying, just going, it's so good to be able to love Haas again in Formula 1.
Because they were just pointless last year. In more ways than one.
It was so frustrating because, you know, I wanted to see him. I kind of wanted to see him do well still, but, you know, ever since they came in, I was always sort of a little bit worried because I think, you know, everyone in Formula 1, you know, everyone talks about, you know, you love Ferrari. Even if you say you don't love Ferrari, you love Ferrari. What is absolutely true is you love an underdog.
Oh, yeah.
And Haas still are that underdog story. You know, I think everyone kind of expected them. And I mean, we even spoke about this on the podcast, didn't we, last year? I think everyone expected them when they came in to be a bit like HRT, Manor, Caterham, kick around for a couple of years at the back and then just fade into obscurity. But, you know, we said this last year, if, you know, 2022 didn't go the way of Haas, we think they were probably going to be walking out towards the door. That feeling has really gone away, hasn't it? And it's great.
Yeah. Very good. Very good news for F1 in America as well, which is obviously good for the sport. But yeah, unfortunately, KMag's really good lap in Q2 wouldn't mean anything because he had those engine penalties, as we said before. But yeah, he did knock out Daniel Ricciardo, which is quite funny. So fair play. Ricciardo in P11 with Ocon, Bottas, Sebastian Vettel, and Alex Albon rounding out the top, or the 11th to 15th. They knocked out in Q2. Yeah, disappointing for Ocon as well. He thought he should have been in Q3, but then with the engine pens, he was 10th on the grid. So he wouldn't got much higher than that, you don't think?
No, anyway, exactly. But both Frenchmen not having a good qualifying session.
No.
But yeah, like we said, you know, Gasly out in Q1, Tsunoda all the way into Q3 there.
Yeah,
at the end of the session. And Ferrari, they had their one decent strategy of the entire weekend actually get executed quite well in Q3, didn't they? Sainz did a fantastic job giving Leclerc the slipstream.
Yeah, very good from Sainz. We see it in league racing a lot, but Ferrari, they do tend to do this, especially at Monza. They've done it in the past quite a lot. To varying degrees of success, thinking when they accidentally gave Raikkonen pole. But yeah, Sainz did really well, giving Leclerc the toe down from the chicane to Le Bose, the one corner that I know the name of. And yeah,
you got Lacine as well. Remember
Lacine? Which one's that?
That's the one just before
the
Le Bose.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go. There's two corners we know. Yeah, gave Leclerc about 0.2 of a second at least. So, yeah, he had that a little bit extra in hand because the Ferrari was at least on par with the Red Bull anyway. So that little bit extra due to slipstream pushed him over the edge and got him quite comfortably a pole position ahead of Max Verstappen in Q3.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I don't know, to be honest, looking back at it, whether Leclerc would have needed the slipstream.
I feel like he wouldn't. I think Max made a bit of a mess of his last lap as well, to be fair. Because I saw he was yellow in Sector 1 and 2, wasn't he?
Yeah, Red Bull just don't quite seem to have the... whether they are just focusing more on the race pace, and let's be fair, who could blame
them? It's working for them so far.
Exactly. It doesn't really seem like they can quite get the qualifying nailed down still at the moment. It's really weird.
Yeah.
But again, I wouldn't be complaining if I was them.
Yeah, other than 21, Max has never been brilliant at qualifying. And I think Leclerc, that's definitely his specialty, is nailing that lap in Q3.
Leclerc is right up there, I think. You know, some of Leclerc's qualifying laps, especially sort of around street circuits, last year especially, you know, he really does give off, in the way he can get a car around a lap, Senna, Hamilton vibes to me.
Yeah, well, Hamilton before he started finishing races.
Hey?
Hamilton used to be a bit more reckless in that kind of qualifying lap way, didn't he? Like, you think of Senna, he was ruthless speed, but sometimes put it in a wall. That's kind of where Leclerc is at the minute.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, you know, you've sort of watched the way Leclerc can dial in on one lap. Oh, yeah. And, you know, you sort of think that is... It just gives me the vibes, you know, some of Senna's Monaco laps, Hamilton Singapore 2018 style as well. You know, just that ability to zero in for one lap and get absolutely everything out of a car. Until you get 18 laps into a race, which we'll discuss in just a moment. But shout out as well, Lando Norris splitting the Mercs there in a track that I think McLaren were really worried Alpine were going to come out swinging. McLaren got the jump in qualifying, even, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Ricciardo out-qualified Ocon in Q2, and then Norris put it ahead of Alonso and ahead of George Russell as well. So fair play, decent from McLaren. And that seems like a battle. We mentioned it a couple of weeks ago to really keep an eye on the McLaren Alpine for P4 in the championship.
I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? You've kind of got, obviously, Ferrari, Red Bull right at the top. Mercedes then a little way away. Alpine and McLaren have certainly solidified themselves now as 4th and 5th, a bit like last year. But, Haas sometimes can be there. Alfa Romeo used to be there. But really now, I think the battle for teams like that is just for, 6th place overall?
Yeah, it looks like Haas and Alfa Romeo are battling for 6th with maybe AlphaTauri if they get their act together, but it looks a bit difficult for them. And yeah, they're really scrapping for points here and there from now on, because on a normal weekend, you've got like at least 8 or 9 of the points taken already with the top 5 teams.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get to Sunday then, Jamie. Race day, of course, like we said, we've got Sainz and KMag at the back of the field. Turn 1, or the run down to turn 1, I should say, fairly undramatic, wasn't it? Charles Leclerc defended the lead from Max Verstappen. Lewis Hamilton, though, a lightning getaway from him, put him straight ahead of Sergio Perez. And Kevin Magnussen was certainly the star of lap 1, wasn't he? Up, 6, 7 places?
Yeah, it was up to about P12, P13 by the end of lap 1, which from 19th or 20th on the grid was pretty impressive. And also Fernando Alonso gained a couple places as well, so shout out to him.
Fernando
Another trademark start
from
him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it really wasn't looking good for George Russell, was it? Got out-qualified by Lando, got jumped by Fernando at the start. And then, of course, it was time for which Frenchman is going to ruin their race on lap 1. Didn't quite ruin his race in the end, but it was Esteban Ocon. To not many people's surprise. If it was going to be one of them, it was probably going to be Ocon, because he started well.
Yes. Yeah, Ocon down the inside into the chicane on Sonoda. Just got it completely over the curve, which bounced him into the side of Sonoda. Ruined Yuki's race on the spot, basically. He later retired. And Ocon got a 5-second penalty. And didn't actually get any other damage, so he didn't have to pit or anything, which was quite lucky.
Yeah, it was a miracle, wasn't it?
But yeah, it was a bit of a shame. And that's, you think 2018 he had a first lap crash. 2019 he wasn't here. 2020 the French Grand Prix didn't happen. 21
last year you
crash?
Can't remember.
I have no
idea. I
don't
think so.
No, maybe he didn't crash last year.
2021 French GP. Keep talking, Jamie.
I don't think he scored points. My memory is not the one for 2021 French Grand Prix. There's not much space for that in my brain. But yeah, it's not gone well for Ocon. I feel like the French drivers haven't had much luck at their home race.
Ocon was a lap down in P14.
Oh, brilliant. There we go.
But everyone finished.
Interesting. That was the race where Ferrari just went really bad, wasn't it?
They came 11th and 16th.
Yeah, amazing. But there we go. Ocon crashed into Sonoda. Gasly never really got going, was kind of maybe getting points, and then went for a stupid move, to be fair, on... Was it Vettel? Was it one of the Astons? Later in the race? He went down the inside of someone at the chicane and completely messed it up and lost 3 places. I think it was
I can't remember that, genuinely, yeah.
But yeah, didn't really ever get going for either Frenchman. Though I think Ocon did get a couple of points, didn't he? So
yeah, Ocon did made a good recovery in the end. And yeah, pretty much got the job done for Alpine where he needed to. Early on, though, of course, yeah, we were all just watching the battle at the front. It would have been nice to have seen what was going on, sort of jumping cars. But yeah, the real focus, of course, was Max attacking Charles Leclerc. We'd spoke all weekend. Red Bull easily had an extra 9 clicks down the straight without even sort of discussing DRS and things like that. So I think we all kind of thought it would be a foregone conclusion that Max would just jump Charles early on, and that would be it. I don't think any of us really predicted though what would happen, would we?
No.
Max, not seemingly able to make an impact early on, lap 16, decides to box. And then suddenly, on lap 18, the yellow flags are out in Sector 3. And Ferrari have well and truly Ferrari'd.
Yeah, and to be fair to Ferrari as a team, at least it wasn't their fault this time, because Charles Leclerc just stacked it in a barrier.
At Labosa.
For no particular reason at all.
Yep.
Like, he was about to box, so his tyres are as old as they're going to be, but still, he should not be making those mistakes. And to be fair to Charles, he was very harsh on himself. But that doesn't make it not a mistake.
No, exactly. I know there was a lot of people out there, with their tinfoil hats going, it was the throttle issue again. It definitely wasn't.
Definitely wasn't.
Charles wasn't trying to cover that over either.
No.
I don't know how anyone can believe that was a throttle
What
issue.
he actually said was the throttle won't come on, as in he couldn't get it into reverse gear.
Just get out of the wall again.
Yeah, so reverse wouldn't engage, but what he should have done is not stack it in a barrier.
No, exactly.
And then he wouldn't have needed reverse gear.
No, and only 4 years and 2 days after Sebastian Vettel
did the same thing.
Nearly, kind of.
Well, I think Seb's was a bit more forgivable.
Yeah, Seb's was. I completely agree with you. And we're not often ones to give Seb much more credit than he's owed.
No, but we're going to interject. Well, if you didn't get with the gist, Leclerc crashed out on his own accord. No reliability, just a bad mistake, and he's out of the race from the lead.
I mean, that's got to be up there as one of the worst cutaways we've ever done.
Probably, but I was going to say, I've got the trivia section for this week. The quiz.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Since Charles Leclerc...
Have you got a timer ready?
I have got a timer ready. You're going to get 30 seconds, because I feel like it's not that difficult.
Right, okay.
But since Leclerc made his debut for Ferrari in the 2019 season, there have been 7 occasions where he has crashed out of a race or caused himself not to finish without reliability, just his own accord. He's crashed 7 times.
Oh, there's no way I can remember these.
In the 4 years that he's been at the team so far, or 3.5 years. You have. I'll give you a minute, actually. Why not? Yeah. And you're starting now.
So Brazil 19.
I didn't count that one because I think that was Seb's fault.
Oh, right, okay. Austria 2020.
Yes. Technically
Monza
stereo.
2020. Yeah.
Yes.
Potato. Baku. Sorry, not Baku. Bahrain 2020.
Yeah. Technically Sakir. Yes.
Yeah. Potato. Obviously France.
Yep.
Of course.
Yep.
Where did he bin it last year? Monaco. Technically.
Yep.
I suppose.
That was one of them. You've got 2 more to get, and you've got 30 seconds.
2 more. What were they? 2019.
Yes.
Oh no, I can't remember these. Was it Silverstone? Was it? No. No idea.
You will absolutely know both of these. They're quite iconic.
Was it Australia,
No.
Bahrain, China?
No.
I'm definitely going to know both of these, aren't I?
Yes.
Monza 20. No, he won that, didn't he?
Yeah. Right, your time's up. Unlucky.
Oh. So what did I get? 7 out of 9. That's honestly better than I thought.
You got out of 7. You got 5.
Oh, there was only 7.
Yeah, there's only 7.
Okay. Right.
You missed out on Monaco 2019, where he
yes,
tore his car apart with a puncture.
Yeah.
And Germany 2019, where he stacked it in a barrier, and just like Lewis Hamilton did.
Oh yeah.
So there you go. I just wanted to remind any Ferrari fans watching that Leclerc crashes a lot.
I mean, I'm sure Max Verstappen got in the same amount of crashes in like the first 7 races of 2018, didn't he?
None that caused a DNF apart from one, which was Ricciardo's fault anyway.
None apart from the one that did.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's difficult for Charles, isn't it, at the moment, I think, because, you know, like he said, he feels like he's driving the best he ever has in his career, but of course, like he also said, you know, that is useless when you're only going to do that for 18 laps of a 53-lap Grand Prix.
Yeah.
He's been, of course, thrust into the number 1 role at Ferrari. And last year, you know, I feel like Ferrari, I get the vibe last year, it should have been an even easier P3 than it already was. They couldn't really fail in 2021, could they, particularly?
No, not
because 2020 had gone so badly. Unless they somehow went further backwards, there was no real way they could fail in 2021. But, yeah, you just can't help but wonder, you know, what is it doing to Charles Leclerc at the moment? And I think the only thing that can really make it worse, which is looking slightly more likely after a weekend like Le Castellet, is if Carlos Sainz just starts pushing that envelope a bit more. Maybe out-qualifying him. Maybe getting ahead of him on the podium every once in a while. Because Ferrari have still made it abundantly clear they are not picking a number 1 driver still this season, which is moronic.
It is very, but
I mean,
at this
everyone
point,
gives stick.
Have you seen, obviously, if this far into the podcast, you kind of know what's going to happen the rest of the race. If the way the championship is now, if Verstappen finishes second for every race from now on, given that Leclerc wins every race, which discounting faster lap points, they will go into the final race equal on points. So effectively, Verstappen needs to win one more race, and then he can finish second for the rest of the season and win.
He's got what I like to call full control over his own fate, which is mad. When you're really the French.
It's just another in the long list of Ferrari breaking down their own drivers.
I mean, you really did think, didn't you? Like, we got through the first couple of races this year, and you there was genuinely that sense of this year was gonna be different.
Yeah.
Whether they won it or not, you thought this is going to be the year Ferrari pull themselves together and get back to championship winning form. Because, I mean, let's not beat around the bush here, Jamie. We all talk about Ferrari's great history and Formula One, everything like that. But when you actually break it down, it's absolutely insane that they've had as little success as they've had.
Yeah,
in the time they've had in Formula
carried.
1, with the money they have in Formula 1.
And their most recent bunch of success was completely off the back of Ross Brawn, Jean Todt, and Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, apart which was Benetton. They got success because they just brought Benetton.
Apart from that, they've won, 12 championships? About the same as McLaren?
Yeah, it can't be much in it, can there?
Yeah.
And I mean, are we talking constructors or drivers?
Drivers on that. Like, without Schumacher, I think they've won 17 Drivers' Championships. So without Schumacher, you're looking at they've got about the same as McLaren. Not that much more than Mercedes have now.
So let's have a look. Ferrari have 15 drivers' titles.
Wow, yeah. So discounting,
10,
obviously,
really,
Schumacher was a driver who existed. But if we just take him out of the equation for a minute, they've won 10 Drivers' Championships. Mercedes
Which
in the last...
2 less than McLaren.
It's also 2 more than Mercedes, who only started trying 8 years ago.
And 3 more than Williams.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I get, a lot of people are huge Ferrari fans, and I completely appreciate the history behind Ferrari. But when you actually break it down, it's insane that they've genuinely been this awful for most of their time in Formula One. Like, there's no way around it. Like, how can a team with that much money not win? Like, I mean, let's be honest. If you were a Mercedes or a Red Bull with that sort of money and that time in Formula One, I mean, it's kind of a good thing, isn't it? That Ferrari have kept it interesting for so long.
Did as well as they should.
If Ferrari were a competent team.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we have got on to an absolute tangent.
We'll stop rinsing Ferrari for a second, maybe.
But it is a shambles.
Although not for that long, because the next thing that happened was a VSC in which everyone else pitted apart from Verstappen already had. And Ferrari gave Carlos Sainz a 9-second pit stop and then released him into Alex Albon. It's just, you couldn't write it. It's genuinely horrific.
Do they just spend half the time in Maranello practicing their clown skills or something?
It's ridiculous.
Like, what goes on at Ferrari? Like, behind the scenes, genuinely.
They just drive drivers off the edge, it feels like. Because you look at Alonso, you look at Vettel. Like, the only drivers who survive more than, 4 years there are the ones who are really good or super chill. So, Raikkonen or Schumacher are the only ones.
And they're the 2 drivers that have done the most starts for Ferrari.
Yeah. Everyone else gives up after 4 or 5 years.
I just reckon now that, a Thursday, there's a 3-hour session for Sainz and Leclerc booked as miscellaneous, where they sit in a room with no windows. Mattia Binotto walks in wearing a clown nose and just honks it right in their face, just every few seconds for 3 hours non-stop.
I feel sorry for Carlos because he had a really good weekend and was just done over by the team. But yeah. That 5-second penalty for the unsafe release did not help him, and helped him even less that they called it a stop-go on the radio and he had to correct them, just to put the nail in the coffin, or even further in the coffin.
Sainz is his own team. He just so happens to be driving a Ferrari car now. Why isn't Leclerc doing that? Why is Leclerc still putting his faith in this organisation? Make the calls yourself.
In Monaco and in Silverstone and here, he's basically been the strategist and the driver. So, yeah.
And in all 3 of those races, he's beat Charles.
Yeah, I'd like to see Carlos put up a bit more fight if he could, but I'm sure he's trying his best. So.
I think, if he gets it together, because I mean, if you look at it, had Imola not been taken out by Ricciardo.
Yeah,
maybe
he had a DNF in Baku, although so did Leclerc, so you can discount that.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that would be the absolute nail in the coffin, wouldn't it? Because I mean, last year, didn't we? We kind of said, if Ferrari come into this year with a good car, and we even said it sort of after Bahrain. the huge downfall now could be the fact they've probably got one of the best driver pairings on the grid.
Yeah, there's no obvious number 2
after last year. And now it just looks like neither driver can deliver for more than 6 races in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, and Max is sauntering. Well, after that, he sauntered off with this race, and he's sauntering off with the championship. Yeah. I have no doubt that Verstappen's winning the championship anymore.
I mean, there's no way Red Bull throw that away.
Surely not.
If it was the other way around, you think, how are Ferrari gonna throw this away? But yeah, Red Bull. I mean, I think we can pretty much congratulate Max Verstappen now on his 2nd world championship.
Wow, is that you legitimising 2021? We take that.
I mean, that's what the record books will say. I mean, I did see a brilliant tweet yesterday going, I can't believe Max Verstappen's luck in Formula 1. First of all, Michael Massey gifts him a title, and then next year Ferrari does it instead.
Yeah. Nah, 2021 was very deserved, and as is 2022. So
Don't get me wrong, he certainly deserved a fair shot at a World Championship, but Hamilton absolutely deserved that win in Abu Dhabi.
Oh,
That's always the horrible thing with it, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the end of 2021.
But also, yeah, we're not going into 2021. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, safety car restart. Was it? It was a full safety car, wasn't it?
It was a full safety car, yes.
So you had Verstappen leading with Hamilton just chilling in 2nd, Perez 3rd, and it was looking like a nailed-on Red Bull 1-2.
No, it wasn't.
Well, I thought it was on the in live. I was thinking surely Perez isn't bad enough to stay behind Hamilton the rest of the race.
It's what you spent the first few laps doing.
Yeah, we can look back and laugh at my optimism on Red Bull, or on Perez particularly. With Russell was Russell P4? Yes.
Russell was P4.
With Sainz down P5. In the mid. No,
Sainz was a little bit further back, wasn't he?
Or something. With a penalty over his head as well. But yeah, restart, nothing really happened. Sainz started cutting through the field, got past Ricciardo and Alonso and all of that lot in the midfield. Up into P5, still with that penalty hanging over his head. And that was kind of the thing to watch the rest of the race, was that little gaggle from P2 to P5 as Verstappen saunters off into the distance. And you kind of had Hamilton with a bit of a buffer to Perez, and then Russell and Sainz looked like the fastest out of any of those. So it was quite interesting. It kept it slightly engaging. It wasn't boring. So
it kept you guessing, didn't it? That was the most important thing. And of course, the other big thing was the fact Sainz obviously had pitted onto a set of mediums because he couldn't go on to another set of hards.
He started on hards, so it was a bit unlucky timing on the safety car for him.
Yeah, it was kind of the whole question, wasn't it, of what will Sainz pit again, or will he try to gamble it? And to be honest, I kind of said actually after the safety car restart, Sainz is only going to be able to get P5 here either way, because everyone sort of talks about when he pit. Not only were those tyres not going to make it to the end, he also still had the 5-second penalty, so he was never going to close back up unless Perez and George Russell just decided to murder each other for the rest of the afternoon, which almost happened. But before that, Sainz and Perez decided to have a battle as the Ferrari clown show continued.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. You had Sainz on the radio saying, like, we need to make the call now if we're going to pit or not. Because we don't have enough laps to catch up if we leave it for another 5 laps. Very, very good point from Sainz, and I'm sure the strategist probably knew that, but just needed a bit of a reminder. You never know with Ferrari.
Ferrari strategists, they probably don't have any.
No, that's true. I saw loads of pictures of the Cars 2 F1 car, the Italian one, and it's like a quote from the film that says, like, in Italy we need no strategy or something, which is very relevant.
I mean, that is Ferrari in a nutshell.
Yeah, but they chose to tell Sainz to box as he was side by side with Sergio Perez. He what's the word? He got rid of George Russell quite quickly. Disposed. That was the word I was going for. Got on the back of Perez, a cracking little battle actually, through Le Bose into the final sector. And Sainz actually did a really good move on Perez. And then, but as he was in the process of doing the move, they called him into the box, and he's like, "Shut up, please, just leave me alone."
I mean, it's just so annoying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, again, I don't, like, no amount of money at the moment you could pay me to join Ferrari and race for them.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I guess if you're like someone in like if you're like an Alex Albon and Ferrari come calling everyone, like, yeah, go for it.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I think pretty much everyone on the grid would still race a Ferrari, but
it's just
it's
you
just
wouldn't choose to go there if you had the choice of anyone.
No, exactly. But yeah, that then meant obviously Perez then on the back foot after being jumped by Sainz. George Russell then suddenly decides just to send it on him down the chicane, which I must admit. And now there's probably, a little bit of the fact I'm a fan of George here as well. Don't get me wrong, mainly that incident was his fault. But a lot of people seem to overlook the fact that Sergio definitely moved on in the braking zone as well. I feel like that was massively overlooked.
Yeah.
He moved from right over on the right-hand side to about 2/3 to the left.
Yeah, it was. They said it on the radio 5 Live actually. It was very, very similar to the lap 1 Abu Dhabi between Hamilton and Verstappen last year, where you've got one driver sending it.
Not quite
because Verstappen was actually ahead and should have been given a position.
No, Verstappen had no, because the only reason why the only reason why Russell ended up all the way across the track was the fact they made contact.
Yeah. It was a lot more aggressive from both drivers, I think, this time round than it was in Abu Dhabi.
I don't think that I've ever seen a move more aggressive than Verstappen's attempt on Lewis. I mean,
we're not here to talk about
Let's just. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna get over that for one second. If someone did that to you in a league race, you would be absolutely fuming.
Oh yeah, if I was in Hamilton's shoes, I would absolutely not give that place back.
No,
but the same as if I was in Perez's shoes, I would not either. Which I think they called it fairly right on both occasions, and it was like Russell was the aggressor, made contact, forced Perez off. Perez kept the position. I don't think there was need to complain about that, but Russell did complain muchly, so much so even Toto Wolff told him to shut up, which he doesn't normally do on the radio.
No. But he's never had to deal with PR63, has he?
No, it's true.
So
George Russell is the type of guy to cry about his own misdemeanor.
His own dive bomb.
Yeah.
And then, later on though in the afternoon, it just appeared that, I think we forgot to mention it, didn't we? Latifi and KMag just decided they were going to crash into each other. And then Zhou Guanyu decided he was just going to take Mick Schumacher out. Maybe some revenge for F2, I don't know.
Yeah, the KMag Latifi one, it was kind of weird. It was so expected with Magnussen, to be fair. Because if that's any other driver on the outside of turn 1, where basically Latifi was defending,
apart from Stroll
potentially, but you've got Latifi trying to basically usher Magnussen off the track in turn 1, which Latifi was ahead. So by the FIA's rules, which we apparently go by,
he wasn't far enough ahead though.
No, he was just edging Magnussen off the track, which is seen many times, especially at tarmac circuits with tarmac runoff areas. That wouldn't have been a penalty, but because KMag is KMag, he just kept the nose in and completely.
And I love that about KMag.
If you remember back to,
I know full well I do the same. You do not just squeeze me off the road. I will absolutely keep the nose there. If I'm going down, you're coming down with me. And I love that about KMag. And you remember,
it reminded me so much of the Nürburgring 2020, where they were battling for nothing. It was Vettel versus Magnussen. So Vettel tried to do the same thing, force Magnussen off, run a really long turn 3 there. Magnussen just sent up the inside of turn 4 for no reason. He's very funny to watch, but he must be so annoying to race.
To be fair, KMag, you just get the sense that every third team radio from him would just be, have it!
Yeah, he's a bit of a liability from time to time, but we love him for that. So.
Like I said, I do. It's always really odd, isn't it? Because the thing is, KMag races aggressively, but he races aggressively in just such a
it's a lovable way, isn't it?
That doesn't break the rules, but it completely bends them in such a way that I know full well if I had to race Kevin Magnussen, I would hate him with a burning desire. But I also know full well if I was Kevin Magnussen, I'd do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And I kind of love him for it.
Yeah, but it was a weird one. It ruined both of their races. So
it was pointless.
Didn't accomplish very much, but there we go. And just to add insult to injury, Zhou Guanyu got another technical DNF, which is obviously very fun. Cause
he was a minute behind anyone.
He was, but we ignore that and we put it down on his DNF list because that's a good agenda to have.
How many points do you reckon he lost from that one then, Jamie, to get on your agenda?
He would have got the fastest lap.
So none then.
So none, yeah.
Right, okay.
But we add that to Miami. We add it to where else?
Can't even remember other races
Baku,
he's DNF'd, can you?
DNF'd from the points. Silverstone, he was in the points. Where else? That's maybe
Silverstone? It was turn 1!
He was still in the points.
He didn't even make it to turn 1 on his wheels. He didn't even make it to the first curb.
Well, he made it to the barrier quite quickly.
But he made it past the barrier, but he was still not on his wheels.
Yeah, but it's more bad luck. And Alfa Romeo just sort their stuff out. It's getting very annoying now.
Yeah, and I mean, that did leave us, to be honest with you, one of the final interesting moments of the race, wasn't it? Because the virtual safety got called out. I don't know what shambles that was, because apparently there's a rule where if they say it's ending, it has to end within 15 seconds. At Le Castellet, it took 59.
Yeah. Perez got the notification. I assume all the drivers did, but Perez didn't want to mention it. It was ending as Perez was coming into turn 9, the chicane.
Yep. So he then gunned it.
So he started to go to be like, right, we're off. I'm not getting caught napping here. And then it just didn't end until like halfway through the final sector, which is about a minute later at that speed. So yeah, a bit of a Michael Massey moment from the FIA.
But are you saying a complete cock up? Are you?
Nah, just human error. We allow
just human error,
like
right?
A bad refereeing decision.
Right.
But yeah, Perez was a bit screwed by that, but it gave Russell the P3, which, going on our predictions later on, I'm very thankful for.
Yeah, you're such an egg, honestly. I cannot believe that. I mean, we'll discuss that in just a moment because that has filled me with rage once more. But yeah, that then meant obviously Max Verstappen, he cruised home to race victory. Hamilton again, best result of the year so far for Mercedes. Their first double podium. Hamilton P2 in his 300th Grand Prix, with George Russell in P3. The only other real thing that happened, of course, on the last lap was Lance Stroll absolutely shithousing P10 away from Sebastian, which
Twitter
everyone on Twitter
at the same
has gone into tears over. It was completely fair.
It was so fair. It was very clever. Probably the best thing I've seen Stroll do this year, to be honest.
Probably the best thing I've seen Stroll do pretty much in his entire F1 career, with the exception of his Turkey pole. But yeah, I mean, let's not beat around the bush here again. If Seb had done that to Stroll, everyone would have said it was brilliant defending, and Stroll should have got out the way.
Shout out to our mate Connor for the tweet with that opinion.
Yeah, Connor speaks straight facts on that one.
Especially when it comes to Sebastian Vettel, usually. Yeah, Stroll basically just stopped on the apex of the last corner and drove off with good traction, because obviously it's the last corner of the race, so your total race time at that point is irrelevant. You just are staying ahead of the car behind you for the final point.
Yeah, basically, your weekend either is worth it or literally pointless.
Yes. So Stroll, fair play, beat Seb. The move wasn't anything bad.
No. It was a cracking piece of defending.
Yeah. That was it. We don't actually have the order here because someone who
I've got the order
messed up.
Hey, I thought you were doing the notes. I haven't got the order. Ignore me.
It was Verstappen from Hamilton and Russell the podium.
And then obviously Perez fourth. Sainz did recover to fifth in the end after his pit stop.
Alonso was best of the rest, I believe, in sixth.
Yes, he was.
Good race from him.
We said about McLaren were good in qualifying, and then both Alpines got ahead of both McLarens.
Also, shout out to Alonso for doing the Alonso thing and just driving as slow as possible again.
Did he?
Yeah, he was like, I want to keep Norris close to me so that his tyres die.
Nice!
So, yeah, big one from Alonso. I absolutely love him. I want him to stay forever. But yeah, don't. Norris was behind Alonso in seventh with Ricardo.
Ocon. Yeah.
And Stroll getting the final point for Aston Martin.
Lance Strulovic. So yeah, Esteban Ocon, decent recovery from him. 4 points in his home racing. Can't be said for Pierre, though, who just missed out by a couple of seconds to the Aston Martins. But what are we going to give out of 10 then, Jamie, for what is probably the last French Grand Prix for a little while?
Hopefully it is. I would... Yeah, I feel like I give good races an 8 and bad races a 6. So I'm going to stick with that and give it a 6.
I was going to give it a 6.5 or a 7. Because generally this year I've been slightly more lenient than you, apparently.
Yeah. I don't know. Every race I give is an 8 or a 6. Apart from Silverstone, which was cracking. So
Silverstone was... I mean, imagine being at Silverstone that weekend. That was
imagine being
incredible.
in Red Bull Hospitality as both their drivers had an absolute shocker.
Yeah, it was difficult. Should we jump into F1 fantasy, or do we want to do driver of the day first? It's your call.
We'll do driver of the day first. And
Carlos Sainz,
I'm gonna agree
easy.
with the proper vote and give it to Carlos Sainz.
Yeah,
just because I feel sorry for him having to deal with Ferrari.
Yeah, there's an element of that in there, but yeah, Sainz certainly driver of the day this weekend. Brilliant recovery. Should have had a podium. Probably could have won had he not had his penalties. But then again, you don't know how much performance he gained through the fresh engine, all this, that, and the other. Back. Yeah, exactly. Max Verstappen didn't need to worry towards the end of the afternoon there, but Sainz a very, very good recovery. And, he would have finished P5 without the safety car anyway, because, of course, then he wouldn't have got the penalty and would have been on a better strat. So, yeah, certainly deserved a decent result there. Let's jump in then, Jamie, to Formula 1 Fantasy.
Yes.
RIP to everyone, including both of us, if I'm not mistaken, for putting Charles Leclerc in the team.
Any serious fantasy player has Leclerc turbo forever. So yes, we all got screwed because he crashed.
How many points did you score?
Oh no, mine's loading. Give me a second.
I feel like I might have beat you this week, but it won't be by much.
Yeah, we've basically established we've got very similar teams. I got 133.
Oh, shite.
It's not going well for me.
I said that with such confidence and I got 126. Thanks a lot, KMag, in your awful driving style.
That's not gone well. So yeah, I had Verstappen, obviously, a 45 classic. Yep. Alonso did really well for me, 23.
I don't have Alonso, I had Alpine.
Joe got 6. I don't actually think his DNF counted because he was classified.
He got 90%,
so we take that.
Yeah.
Albon got me 12 because he's an absolute goat.
Yep, Albon got me 12.
Oh, you've got him as well, never mind. Yep. Leclerc Turbo got me 10.
Yep, somehow. I don't know how he scored positive there, but we'll take it.
And Ferrari got 37.
Yeah, and Wait, you got Ferrari?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got Alpine, and I didn't do much worse than you. George Russell got me 30, but KMag lost me 4. Shout out to my risky team this week. Fernando Alonso turboed, bagged me 46. Hamilton on 38. Sainz on 32. Gasly on 13. Ricciardo on 9. Somehow got less than Gasly despite beating him. And Aston Martin netted me 22 points there for 160 on the board. Where does that place us in the league, Jamie? Where are you currently sat?
I am 527th.
I'm 200 behind you. How many points you on?
I'm on 2169 overall.
I'm 30 points back and 200 places. What sort of eggery is this?
We are. Yeah, that's good.
I mean, that is heartbreaking.
Apparently your serious team got 0 points in the French standings, by the way.
Probably
it is a bit glitched, isn't it?
The fantasy league still isn't working. We might not be able to do a proper recap this week
we can.
Because can you still decipher what happened? Because I'm not convinced. I mean, go for it.
I think I can try at least. I think the top ones are okay.
This might not be the accurate rundown, but we're giving shout-outs anyway.
But to be fair, if you did well, you're a bit weird because you don't have Leclerc probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to Regina M with 251 with a Mega Driver Verstappen, Perez Turbo, Russell, Schumacher, Magnussen. So he's got both Red Bulls, both Hasses, George Russell and Alpine as his team. 251 points, top scoring of this week. We've got Kevin L in second, Bailey K in third, 242 and 239. I assume, everyone's played their Mega Driver in the top 10, definitely on Verstappen. With Eli P in fourth, Mohammed HM in fifth, Abdi Jabbar X in fifth, joint fifth as well. Ariel A, Eli P with a different team in eighth and fourth. Fair play. Going.
Smashing that.
Daniel E in ninth with Dhruv S in 10th place. There we go.
Congratulations if you made it into the top 10
I think that's the first time the same person's got in twice.
No, it's happened a couple of times.
Oh, really?
To be fair, I think, yeah. Having a look then overall, I cannot believe that Max T is still top of the world by a ridiculous 54 points.
That is stupid.
That is absolutely...
We're over halfway through the season now, so he could. I back him. I think it's going to win overall.
I genuinely think he's probably... We are going to have the best player in the world in our league, and he's going to absolutely poo on everyone. But yeah, I mean, Mansel's mustache, Max T, like we keep saying, every week Jamie and I are begging for those paddock tickets that you're going to win.
Oh, yeah.
But fair play to you, mate. Enjoy those because you absolutely deserved it with the year you've had so far. I'm so sorry I've just jinxed you as well by saying all
Announce 5 DNFs next week.
Yep. Tim still in P2 there with Scuderia Wickham. The Boys Who Cried Wolf, that's a brilliant team name now.
Very
Bryce
good.
G up into P3. Larry T, the man that led so much early on in the year, down to P4 there, ahead of the Ferrari master plan. P5, just like they were in the weekend. Dipam K in 6th, Alan Brittis in P7 there, Tay B in 8th, ahead of Rossi V, and then Renan R rounding out the top 10 there. Clearly, Canadians, they're awful in Formula 1 cars, but they're not bad at predicting them. We've got 3 of them.
I guess there's less reason to be swayed by bias.
It's because they can't go outside, isn't it? Because it's cold all the time. So you may as well just.
And there's no point
F1.
picking Canadian drivers, whereas maybe we're swayed by the Brits. I don't know.
Do I? I've got George Russell in mine. You haven't got any Brits, have you?
I mean, I had Russell in
Albon,
Silverstone, then he crashed, so I'm never going near him again.
Fair enough. I don't blame you. But, I mean, fair play. Like I said, Max T smashing it, not only in our league, but also in the global league. That is absolute insanity. Right. Speaking of insanity,
Predictions time.
I'm
an absolute
sweaty,
oracle.
lucky. Honestly, I hate this so much because it's just made me realise how bull this game is.
Is that a Red Bull by any chance?
No, it's not. It's George Russell this week. I thought, I nailed qualifying, 2 points there. I thought, right, I'm going to absolutely mince Jamie this week. But because of our eggy point system...
And Leclerc bidding it from the league.
Yeah, and Leclerc bidding it didn't help me because I would have got a full house this weekend.
You actually would have done. That's mad.
Yeah,
wow.
I would have got
Leclerc screwed you massively. We take
He
that.
did completely, yeah. So I managed to get 4 points. Leclerc pole, and I got 1 for Hamilton and Verstappen both on the podium. Jamie, because of Perez being a donkey, managed to also nail 4 points there because he got Verstappen and Russell bang on in the race predictions.
I had Perez in second, which unfortunately didn't happen. But yes, I just don't back Ferrari ever, and it seems to be paying off so far.
How is that working for you so well, and why do I keep backing them?
Yeah, I don't know. But nonetheless, we both scored 4 points for the weekend.
So the gap hasn't come down. It's still 13 points as we get towards the summer break.
I'm on 49 and you're on 36.
36, which, to be honest, I think is probably better than any of us expected me to do.
I think I'm doing so well. If I'd have put money on my predictions, I'd be so rich right now.
Yeah, but I also, after 2 weeks, wouldn't have been stupid enough to bet against you anymore. Let's not forget that fact.
No.
Yeah, of course, like we said, though, we will be back with a pre-show for the Hungarian Grand Prix later on in the week. This one's already pushing up getting towards the hour mark. Is there anything else we need to go through, though, Jamie? Have we forgot anything?
I think we've smashed it.
I think we have smashed it once again. But there we go then. Thank you all to everyone so much for listening. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like and get yourself subscribed. Like I said, make sure you click follow as well over on Spotify. It really does help support the podcast as well. But yeah, we will return either Thursday or Friday with our predictions ready for the Hungarian Grand Prix. So yeah, safe to say Jamie's probably going to accidentally smash that again, and then I'm going to get angry and cancel the show. But thank you all so much for watching, and we'll be back later on in the week then, ready to preview the Hungarian Grand Prix.